Hey everybody, Stucco Mason Mike here. We're going to take you through today and show you how we prep basement windows for parging. Pretty much every house that's built that has a cement foundation will have windows in the basements, and they will need to be sealed up because, as you can see, you have a plastic strip with some wood, and that's a water penetration area. So we got to get those sealed up and made so that we can coat over them with sand and cement. Sand and cement won't stick to wood, and sand and cement won't stick to plastic, so we have to do little bit of work here. So to start off, I'll show you what materials you're going to need to do this. I have a pail just to carry my stuff around, and for garbage, I have a peel and stick, which is what we use to steel up our windows. I'll show you how that works after. Some nails, you need a pair of tin snips, a hammer, a scrub brush, and finally your lath. Real quick with your lath, pro tip here, when you get it, it'll be pinned with wire here, as you can see, and a lot of people's first instinct is to open it here, but what happens when you open it there, it uncoils and becomes just a mess to deal with. So pro tip is you cut off the wire that's holding it on the inside, wire up the outside, and then always pull it from the center, and then that way you never have an unroll. But yeah, so that's the materials that you're going to use. I'm going to stop this for now, or pause this for now, and get my camera set up over at the window we're going to show you, and then we'll go from there. All right, I'll continue in a second. All right, here we are back at our window. So let's get started. First and most important thing is you want to make sure that your window edges are clean and free of debris. So I'll just take a scrub brush and just make sure that the wood underneath all the way down to the tar line is nice and clean, because we are going to be coating this. The last step for this is to coat it with cement, so cement won't stick to dirt, and then if your parging is falling off, chances are it's because it wasn't cleaned properly. It's the most common thing that we see. So don't be afraid to get your elbow into it. Use elbow grease because you really want to get that clean. It can never be too clean. You can use a wire brush, you can use a pressure washer. We pressure wash all of the pargings before we come and do them. For windows, we usually just give them a quick scrub with a scrub brush. All right, once that's done and they're clean, free and clear of debris. Oh, I forgot a tool in my pile. You also need an X-Acto knife. A lot of times the builders of the houses will come through and they'll install our top drip cap with our end dam, and they'll do some peel and stick on the windows, but oftentimes they don't do it exactly how we like to do it to make sure the windows are sealed. So what we have to do, if I were to come and do peel and stick on a window, I would overlap my peel and stick onto the window ledge and then back to make it a little bit shorter, but they haven't done that in this circumstance. So what we're going to do is we're going to just trim about an inch off of the peel and stick that they've installed. Just the reason we're doing this is because when we apply our steel lath, we really want to make sure that all of the peel and stick is covered by the lath. We don't want any peel and stick hanging out the edge. And because this peel and stick is 4 inches and our lath is 4 inches, if you don't overlap onto the window edge, your peel and stick is always going to stick out farther than your lath, if that makes sense, because you can't overlap your lath onto the window edge. So we always come and trim. And another thing that's really important, and it's actually the cardinal rule of doing windows, is you do it in a shingling manner just like you would do roofing material. So you always start with your bottom, then you do your sides, then you do your top if there's a top to do. And in this case, what they've done is they've put their peel and stick from under the siding just down to the sides, but they haven't done anything on the bottom. So it's really important for us to peel back the bottom edges of the peel and stick that they have installed, just so we can make sure that our bottom piece is shingled in the proper way. Because if not, then you have a joint on top that water can run down, and we don't want that. So I'm going to peel that back. I'm going to trim that down by 1 inch. Perfect. So now that I have both of my existing peel and sticks pulled back, everything's nice and clean and trimmed to where I need it, I can install my bottom piece of peel and stick. Today we're going to be using a product. It's actually a new product that we're demoing for Resisto. It is -40 no primer peel and stick, and it's actually really good. We actually really enjoy it. They gave us a 6-inch roll. I always cut it in half down to 3 inches, which is going to match what you now have after your trim on your existing peel and sticks. I do have a piece pre-cut, so we can just do it. But I just did want to say there are a lot of peel and stick products that require a liquid primer component to go along with them. Basically, you have to brush on a primer before you install the peel and stick so that you can ensure the peel and stick is going to stick well. We're fortunate enough to have one of the newer products that doesn't require that step, which makes it way better because it's kind of messy and sticky and a pain in the butt. So we're thankful, but always double check with the manufacturer of your product to make sure that you're using it properly. So here is my piece that I have pre-cut from the first window that we did. As you can see, the front, the back, there's a plastic backing that you have to remove to reveal the sticky side. I'll always pull about 1.5 feet off, and then I'll make sure that the sticky side is folded like this, and I try to use limited contact. So I'll have 2 fingers, 2 fingers. I'm going to ensure that my overlap on this side is the 3 inches to match the outside edges so that we have a nice square edge. If you overlap too much, you won't be able to cover it with your metal lath. If you overlap too little, you risk not being water sealed properly. So we'll just make sure that our overlap goes far enough on both sides. And then once you get your first 1.5 feet stuck, I'll unpeel another 1.5 feet. And then I will just ensure that this is nice and up over the plastic window ledge and sealed properly. You see, I'm not going to seal it the whole way until I'm done this top edge stuck, or until I have the top edge stuck, because I don't want to risk my peel and stick bubbling. Now this is just something that, you know, I know people who have been doing the trade for years and years who still struggle with, so it's just something that you have to practice. But you're going to really want to make sure that you push your peel and stick onto your nice and clean wall that you finished cleaning. And this stuff is awesome. It sticks like a hot band. Perfect. Dispose of your garbage in your garbage pail. You don't want that blowing away in the wind. And then you can unfold your sides and re-stick them. I like to give them a good couple taps with a hammer just to really make sure that that adhesive is stuck. Kind of loses a little bit of its integrity when you have to unpeel it. One of those things. And I'll do the same thing on this far side. Alright, so our windows are now water sealed. So any water that gets into it, there's going to be a steel window well and a weeping tile system here as well. So we really make sure that our windows are drained. Alright, next step and final step, I guess, is just nailing your lath on. So like I said before, always pull your lath from the middle. You want to make sure that your rolls stay in good shape. They don't get dinged, they don't get dented, people don't throw tools on them, etc., etc. Because lath is 4 inches long, you have 1.5 inch nailing surface to attach this to, and this lath product has to be tight up against the wall. If it's not, you're going to have a really hard time when you come to coat it with your sand and cement stucco. So really make sure, this is another thing that I really make sure to do. Once I have my pieces pre-cut, I'll cut my bottom and I'll show you here. Grab my snips. I love these Fiskars tin snips. They're really great. All right. So once you have your lath cut to length, one thing that I do before I start to nail it on is I give it a quick inspection. My end, I'll always give a bend into the way, you see how it's curled naturally like this? I'll always give my ends a curl in just like that. And I'll always make sure that my curl goes on. So you're not putting, if you put it on upside down with your curl like this, it'll always try and push away from the wall and you're gonna have a bad time. But if you turn it around and put it on like this, as you nail it, it's gonna set tighter and tighter. And like I said, you have very limited nailing room. I'll usually do just a single strip of nails down the middle, so I'll show you that real quick. I don't know if I'll speed this up or not. Like I said, I'm not much for video editing. So make sure that this lath lines up to your overlap. Make sure it's tight to the underside of your window jamb. I'll do one nail about 6 inches away from the corner just to start everything off. Once that's there, it makes it really easy. I'll take my second nail and I'm going to come as far to the bottom right as I can. All right, pro tip. To get this lath nice and tight, you can actually stretch it when you nail it. And an easy way to show, I'll see if I can show you this here. So all you simply do is you're going to want to put your nail in on an angle away from where your starter nail is. So I'll just get that started. So you can see my nail is now going on an angle this way up against one of the diamonds in my lath. So when I hammer the nail all the way on, it actually will tighten the lath about 1/8 of an inch towards the left. You can start right to left, left to right, whatever works best for you. I'm doing right to left. Doesn't really make too much of a difference. So I'll usually go one stretch nail, one straight nail, and alternate. So I'm not stretching my lath too much, but I'm also keeping it nice and tight. So that was a straight one. We're going to go this one on an angle. Stretch. And then another important thing is always make sure you're double checking that this top edge is up against the bottom of your window, because you can't really see what you're doing here. So just feel, make sure that you're always staying tight up to that bottom of the window. You don't want a gap there. Any gap between the window edge and the lath will crack and fall out, because stucco doesn't stick to peel and stick or plastic or wood. Now that I'm a little bit closer, maybe you can better see the angle nail. So I'm going to put my nail on an extreme angle like this. And as I nail, you can see it slowly stretch the lath out. So that was my angle nail. Now I'm going to go straight nail, straight in. And then I'll do an angle nail. And then once again, I'm going to find where my foundation stops and my wood begins, and put a nail right in there. Boom. So bottom piece of lath is usually the hardest, but as you can see, because I pre-folded my corners in, everything, even though I've only put one single strip of nails down the middle, my lath is tight up against my cement at all points. All right, so bottom's done. Let's do the sides now. Now, because the sides are usually the same, you can cut one piece and then transcribe it to another one. There's my first piece. And as you can see, when I hold this up here, I can tell that my bottom piece is a little bit long. So I'm just going to give that a little trim here before I go any further. Just to make sure, as I said earlier, you don't want any extra overhangs that are not needed. I also wanted to say how fortunate I am today that the window wells aren't already installed, because imagine doing this process inside a steel window well. It's not the funnest. All right, so I got my one side cut. I'm just gonna save a step and cut my second piece right on my first piece. Boom. Tuck my lath back in. And then same thing, I'm going to want to fold and roll my edges just to make sure that they're going to sit nice and tight onto my wall. And then this stage, I'm always going to want to have this come underneath the siding to the underside of the siding J-edge. Just it gives you a nice starting point. And if you do it the same every time, it's just kind of like one of those little things where learning is repetition, and you get fast not by being fast, but just by being slow and steady, doing things the same way consistently. So just kind of one of the things that I like to do. And I'll do the same thing stretching my nails. I'll do a straight nail and I'll do a stretch nail. That was my stretch nail. Now I'm going to do my straight nail. And then I'll do a stretch nail stretching down this time. And then that just sucks your lath super nice and close to the wall. And I'll always do a double nail in my bottom edge. Once I have this done, I'll just give it a couple of taps with the side of my hammer just to kind of make sure that everything's nice and flat. And as you can see, I do have a little tiny bit of peel and stick hanging out from behind my lath, so it's important that we cut that off and make sure that, there we go. Perfect. All right. Now we'll just do this last piece of lath. Perfect. I'll give you a quick close-up, and then I'm going to pause and go prep the other windows, and I'll come back and show you how we coat them. So, as you can see, we have no peel and stick hanging out behind our lath. Our corners are nice and square, and our lath is nice and tight to the cement all the way around. And that's what we want to see for every basement window. All right, we'll be back in a bit.